Welcome to the channel, guys. My name is Jess. So Bitcoin was prevented from seeing a major breakdown last night thanks to some bullish PPI data, but the buyers are still exhausted and the price action is going nowhere. In today's video, we're going to dive into the short time frame charts and talk about the potential correction that's brewing, what's going to trigger it, prevent it, and what that would all mean for the rest of the crypto market. Let's get into it. As always, before we dive in, make sure you guys smash that like button and subscribe to the channel to get regular Bitcoin analysis every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. And sign up to my free Telegram for more regular Bitcoin updates. If you're a trader and you're interested in joining my VIP channel, be sure to message me down below on Telegram. VIP gives you exclusive access to my personal trading setups with exact entry points, targets, and stop losses. Alright guys, so jumping into the charts, let's take a look at the recent price action and why last night was so important, and yesterday in general, to be honest, was so important in terms of potentially seeing a correction for Bitcoin and the rest of the cryptocurrency market. So taking a look here on the daily time frame for Bitcoin, we can see a couple key things. So obviously, we're at a massive level of resistance right now, starting at $103,000 to $106,000. It's the same level of resistance that we can see across the weekly time frame as our weekly all-time high, right? And we're currently retesting and rejecting off that level of resistance. And so at that level of resistance, we have a high probability of seeing a potential correction from Bitcoin. And one of the key indicators we were looking at to trigger or warn us that that sort of shift was coming and we were potentially going to see a breakdown and a retracement to lower levels of support, 197, we were looking at this RSI uptrend. So just yesterday, we had a breakdown from this RSI uptrend. If we zoom in just a little bit, you guys can see it a little bit better. We can see that it's just tapped below that trend line right now. And so momentum, it has officially flipped bearish on the daily time frame. And we're currently consolidating in a short time frame structure over here, being this very small sort of parallel channel, starting from 101.3 to $105,000. That is our most crucial short time frame resistance right now. Now, across the rest of the cryptocurrency market, if we take a look at the total market cap, we also retested a really key level of support last night as Bitcoin was seeing that breakdown on the daily chart. So we have this level of support established by these equal highs over here. We can see that marked out by the liquidity, the Smart Money Concepts indicator as well. We have EQH, and breaking down from that level as well, we can see we wicked right below it for a moment there. Would have led to an extended breakdown for total to take us down to $2.99 trillion. So that would have led to a massive correction across the entire cryptocurrency market, and most altcoins would have gone down a good 10-20%, right? And taking a look at RSI as well, we are just testing that trend line right now. So if we see a breakdown, PPI was bullish last night, but the news is already out and we still haven't really bounced, right? So there's a potential that we see that correction. And if we do, that RSI downtrend is, RSI uptrend is going to be the first thing that we're looking at. So let's take a look at that data that we're talking about that came out so bullish. So PPI is Producer Price Index, and it is essentially a leading indicator for inflation, and essentially is a marker for how much produced goods are increasing in price. It's an index, and it went down by 0.5%. That was the actual result, as opposed to the consensus is 0.2 and the forecast is 0.2. So as you guys can expect, that is a pretty large discrepancy between consensus, forecast, and the actual result. And so that is, why we saw a little bit of a rally last night and this sort of bounce here from the base of our short time frame horizontal channel. So we're going to dive into today's video and mostly talk about the short time frame charts and what's going on over here, and essentially what's going to signal the breakdown for Bitcoin, where that's going to go, and otherwise where this breakout from $105,000, the top of our parallel channel, will take us, and why that would be so important. So zooming into the smaller time frames, we're on a 4-hour chart here. Let's talk about exactly what we're seeing as the price action consolidates against that really massive level of resistance, being that weekly range high on, the higher and small time frames. So we've already established our structure. We have a parallel channel here, which is sometimes or more generally considered to be a pattern of continuation, right? And in other words, a pattern where we're consolidating and accumulating, and then that accumulation eventually leads to a breakout that is the continuation of the prior price action trajectory. So right now here we've entered the parallel channel in an uptrend, and so I guess looking purely at the structure, we have an assumption then that after Bitcoin continues or finishes consolidating here, we are more likely to see a bullish breakout here, being the measured move or the height of our parallel channel, taking us up to $108.3 thousand. Now that's just structurally, but of course when we look at a chart, there are more than just structures that we're looking at. We also have momentum, volume, all those other things. So taking a look at momentum, what we can also see that conflicts that assumption as we take a look at how the price actions traveled against this level of resistance is that on the 4-hour time frame here, we are seeing the buyers exhaust, right? This is bearish divergence between these two peaks. So we have higher highs on the price action, but lower highs on the RSI. So even though the price action is pushing upwards, momentum's dropped. And this exhaustion or this trend line maps out that pattern of exhaustion, right? So as Bitcoin continues to move along and below this trend line, we're essentially seeing that bullish momentum has continued to decrease. And if we continue to see that, the more likely trajectory of this parallel channel is going to then be a breakdown, right? Taking us to 100K support, the base of this next small volume gap here, and then to this level of support right here at $97.6 thousand, and right into that next volume gap. Now, what we can also see though, just to complicate things a little bit further, is that while Bitcoin travels within this channel and we retest the range low at 101.3 thousand, the base of our parallel channel, we've also seen bullish divergence. We've seen absorption of selling pressure. We have higher lows here on the price action, right? These 2 weeks are higher than each other, with selling pressure increasing as we approach that level of support. So we're seeing that the buyers are successfully and really actively defending this level of support, but they're also not currently strong enough to break out of this resistance, right? So essentially what we're looking out for over the next couple of days as Bitcoin continues to chop between these two levels is for either of these narratives that we're seeing here on the momentum flip, right? So if we see that we push below 101.3 thousand, this base of short time frame support, and selling pressure is dropping as well, naturally, we've negated the bullish absorption that's happening at this level, right? These sellers have pushed past that buy wall, and we're very likely to then see a breakdown. Otherwise, if we see momentum here flipped on the 4-hour time frame, this is the key trend line that we're really looking at. If this is flipped and momentum flips bullish, that means buyers are finally gaining enough strength. The exhaustion has stopped, and we should be at this next retest of $105,000 breaking through. We have a much higher probability of seeing that breakthrough. And once again, going to the measured move at $108,000. So just to elaborate, a breakout would essentially be a candle close above that resistance at $105,000, and the trigger for a bullish continuation on the short term would be a move above the end of this liquidity zone at $105.8 thousand, or this buy side liquidity in the wick high. Now let's move on to why all of this is so important. So of course, you guys can probably guess, if we're at the weekly range high and we're at the all-time high for a weekly candle close for Bitcoin, if we manage to see a breakout to $108,000, we would very likely see the breakout as well on the weekly time frame, right? So that means a new weekly all-time high for Bitcoin. And that would very likely push Bitcoin as well into continued price discovery. So movement above 108, 110, and then, new price territories. And on the daily time frame as well, what that would mean if we push above to $108,000 is that Bitcoin has finally exited this liquidity zone of resistance that ended at 106.3 thousand, right? So some really crucial price action to be watching out for ahead, because if we break out here, that could be a very, very big buy signal. And otherwise, let's talk about the significance of the breakdown, right? Because currently, as we sit below that RSI trend line and have fallen below this daily chart RSI uptrend as well, that is the current most likely scenario, right? As of right now, that has the potential to change, as I've already explained on the short time frame charts, but looking at it objectively right now, that is the most probable scenario. The breakdown would take us to go on to retest 100K support. And I've talked about it so many times, I feel kind of bad about it, but it is important because generally when we retest $100,000 and we bounce from that level, that signals that, I guess, the high time frame bullish trajectory is very, very much intact. And From that bounce, Bitcoin has historically gone on to create new all-time highs. This very first time we retested it and bounced, we went to 108. This next time we retested it and bounced, we went to $110,000. And conversely then, falling back below it, we re-enter this historical sort of daily chart range here, starting at 100,000 and ending at $91,000, right? We can see that rejections from 100K have historically taken Bitcoin all the way back down to retrace 91K support, right? Which could, of course, be huge. 100K is also where we have the top of the Gaussian channel on the 3-day chart, which is one of our key bullish indicators or macro bullish indicators. So again, a level of support that we want to be retaining to facilitate the sort of traditional rallies that we see breaking out of the Gaussian channel on the 3-day chart, right? 50% rally over there. This was like around 140% over here, and so on and so forth. You guys can go back on the 3-day chart and see all of those breakout and rallies. So wrapping up the video there, guys, clearly, even though the price action is a little bit boring right now because we're just chopping up and down, it is definitely not a time to be asleep at the wheel. We've got some really sort of big price action coming up, and it has very high time frame consequences and significant consequences for Bitcoin and the rest of the cryptocurrency market moving forward. Alrighty guys, that is a wrap on the analysis for today. Thank you for tuning in for another episode. If you enjoyed the video or you learned something, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel to get regular Bitcoin analysis every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. And join my free Telegram for more regular Bitcoin updates. If you're interested in my VIP trading channel, don't forget to message me down below on Telegram. VIP gives you exclusive access to my personal trading setup, so the exact entry points, targets, and stop losses. Hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!